I think to Taylor's point, if it was that easy, we would both be out of jobs. Also, a big part of what we do at Glean and what my team does is help all of you, all these people in this room, actually show the output of your efforts to your business. And so we talk a lot about different ways to measure the impact. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the quantitative, and definitely some of it is really specific to us, right? We look at what is the adoption of the Glean platform, what is the net promoter score, so are people enjoying using the system? But we also then start to look at more specific engagements that are really valuable for you as well, things like the queries per user per week. So how often are people in your organization going to look for information? That's a great way to show back the need within your business. Also looking at things like a search satisfaction score. So how often are people getting the result that they're looking for? How often are they finding that piece of information? And then really importantly too, part of Glean is a knowledge hub. And this is where the SMEs or different individuals within your organization can actually start to create content directly there as well. So there's the collections that we talked about before, things like answers as well. So the ability to answer FAQs really quickly. As well as things like Go links, the creation of those quick access links to other content. But we also have things like verification and deprecation. So are people taking responsibility for their content? Are they identifying this is the latest and greatest? Are they also identifying, hey, this was an old version of something, let's keep it for the knowledge that comes from knowing where we started. But I'm also, as the owner, saying, please don't use this anymore. There's then also looking at things like announcements. Are people talking to each other in kind of larger groups within the platform? And then things like, as much as Glean will identify and find the most relevant pieces of content within your organization, we also recognize at times there's moments where you or others in the organization want to really force a piece of content to be the first item found. And so are people doing that? Again, are people taking ownership over their content and really identifying the needs of the business? And then secondarily, but really important, is that qualitative, right? And you've probably done a lot of these before, but actually just doing surveys for people in your organization, identifying what they can and can't find. A deeper level of that, doing those user interviews. If you haven't invested the time in doing that yet, I definitely would recommend doing that and understanding where people can and can't find the information today, where they want to get more. And then just, are the right foundations for success in place? So again, Taylor mentioned things like connectors to the different applications in your organization. Is there a wide range of that? Are there a lot connected such that people really can have that single pane of glass in one platform and find anything that they might be looking for in that one place? A really fun metric is looking at the usage by department as well, and just seeing what are different departments looking for, how often are they accessing different pieces of information. And then you can kind of flip that and say not by department, by content source. So again, you are all dealing with more applications than ever before today. And you can actually start to go and kind of put a score to how useful those different applications are in terms of surfacing the information that's needed within your organization. So that's kind of flip the department on its head of application. And then just using all the different ways to access for us, again, specifically Glean. But I would say the bottom one is particularly interesting too, in terms of correlation with other surveys and other tools that you might be doing. One of my favorite questions is this exactly: do you have access to the content you need to do your job? If you don't have a score for that today within your organization, again, highly recommend going and asking that. And then you'll get a sense of just what's the burden on individuals, what's the burden on SMEs to be basically taking the place of what can now be done with tooling. And I think what's really important with all of this, though, those we were all talking about are really high level, but it's incredibly, incredibly impactful to actually talk to the functional leaders within your organization, do those user interviews across departments, because what you'll also find is that access to knowledge, access to learning within an organization is measured very differently by department. So for example, if you work at a company with an engineering team, they're looking at things like increased time in code, right? If I'm an engineer and I'm having to constantly leave our code tool to go ask questions, I'm not being as effective as possible. Or for your new hires, the time to first code commit or time to bug resolution, right? Those are all really impactful metrics that your engineering team, I guarantee you, is looking at today. And you could go have a really large impact on that and really help the business. Then for things like the sales, my team, customer success, support, same things like the ability to get a 360-degree view of all of your customers. Same sort of thing, the ability to respond to and hit SLAs for support tickets really quickly. the ability for a sales team member to actually answer questions on a call with a prospect rather than having to send follow-up emails. We've talked to some customers that, and I don't think everybody does this, but they actually started to track the number of follow-up emails that had to be sent versus just next meeting getting scheduled because questions were answered on the call. So I do, while we talked about, and you'll see there are definitely still company-wide ones, right? Time to onboard, questions and things like help HR channels, help IT channels. It is really, really impactful to talk to those functional leaders within the organization because they are talking about productivity within their team in really different ways. And those are a lot of the metrics that you can go directly impact and then show your value and the efforts of your teams to the larger business.